Hey everyone, PwnyBoy here, and I'm breaking the prolonged silence of this channel to share my thoughts on the Battlefront Beta, the game that everybody said would suck before it even came out. So does it suck? Stay tuned. So where the hell do I begin? The first two Battlefront games, which are as old as the hills as far as video games are concerned, both rocked my socks. They rocked everyone else's socks too. They combined relatively solid gameplay with the epic nature that comes with the Star Wars universe. And if that wasn't enough, they featured the Galactic Conquest mode, which I think was always a selling point for these games. Especially in the second title where, you were moving the fleets around the galaxy, you were buying troops and all that stuff, and it played like a game of chess. So, these games weren't flawless by any means, but they were damn good. And the next title, simply called Star Wars Battlefront for some reason, not Battlefront 3, just Star Wars Battlefront, has some big shoes to fill. It's developed by DICE, published by EA, and it kind of stumbled over itself out of the gate. The months and weeks, after its reveal were marred by this revelation that these certain classic game modes wouldn't be returning. So that's no space battles, no single player campaign, no Clone Wars era content, no Galactic Conquest. So, I don't know, maybe DICE just didn't know that Battlefront fans hold these features so dear, but these reveals pissed a lot of people off, and I would say justifiably so. And for me, even after playing the beta, the lack of these features will probably cause me to pass on the game, at least until it lowers in price. Because all of those things that they cut are what Battlefront is at heart. And with a game like this, which is an FPS branded by a franchise with an intricate film history and, related canon, the combat you engage in has to feel like it impacts and takes place in the universe as a whole. Which, one of the maps you play in the beta is Hoth. And Hoth always kind of does this, it feels like the big battle on Hoth in Episode 5. But I'm worried that taking out the Clone Wars era, Galactic Conquest, space battles, all that stuff, isn't just removing game modes, but it's actually damaging your ability to get sucked into the Star Wars universe. However, this doesn't mean that the game isn't good. I mean, let's be honest, the previous games have aged a ton, and while they both look okay for, what they are, the new Battlefront just looks gorgeous. It's got DICE DNA in it, so explosions look great. The battlefields feel alive and the color palette is really attractive, and it's pretty cinematic as well. But what's a game if it looks good but plays bad, Well, lack of features notwithstanding, Battlefront plays like you'd expect a Battlefield game to play, except, stormtroopers and lasers. The pacing of the game is pretty solid, as Battlefield itself often is. It's a highly immersive FPS, which DICE has always done well. Explosions feel crunchy and threatening, TIE fighters scream above your head, guns have weight to them, you're always being encroached on by the sound of distant gunshots or shrill cries over the communications channel. Vehicle armaments feel hefty, and while piloting the famous spacecraft is a little weird to get the hang of initially, it's fun as hell. For those who are worried that this is just Battlefield but with Star Wars meshes, textures, characters, maps, weapons, all that stuff, I wouldn't be too worried. The beta feels Star Wars authentic, and while you can tell it has Battlefield DNA in it, that doesn't mean it's just a carbon copy. It's easy to get lost in the canon of Star Wars while playing this, mostly because you're constantly reminded of it thanks to the soundtrack, hero characters, familiar faces, etc. Gameplay-wise, this installment does away with ammo, even for grenades and projectile weapons, which is a little strange. It makes sense for blasters to work on an overheat mechanic, but it's kind of weird to have just one grenade to use, but only until it recharges, so to speak. Doesn't mean it's bad, it's just a little strange. It does mean you're not spending half the match waiting around the health and ammo droids, which is a nice addition. Battlefront, like its predecessors, is loadout based, although you have control of what your loadout is. You're not limited to the class system like of the previous games. You can unlock more tools when you level up and earn credits, and you can also pick up little gadgets and upgrades on the field that you deploy once before they're gone. This is stuff like orbital strikes, vehicle upgrades, And yes, the ability to play as Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker, although neither are as OP as they were in Battlefront 2. As far as battle modes go, you have access to a survival map, a waypoint control map, and a rush style map that takes place on Hoth. And let me tell you, in next-gen graphics and sound, it's quite epic. All other maps are locked because beta, and some of them sound pretty interesting. And so far, the beta is remarkably intact and fulfilling. It nails the Star Wars atmosphere. I haven't experienced anything game-breaking, only a few graphical glitches. There are some gameplay issues, but nothing is so egregious that it makes me want to put the game down. Some of those things are, first, a lack of balance on the Walker Assault map. The rebels almost always lose. There's no map to pick where you spawn, so it kind of turns into a shit show, and you have no idea where you're going to end up, and you can be spawn killed and all that sort of stuff. There's no server browser, although I haven't had any trouble finding a game. And finally, the snowspeeder handles like shit. It feels like what you would think it is, a high-octane continuation of the Battlefront series. New graphics, new physics, and more meat to the gameplay really grabs you and immerses you. I really enjoy my time playing it. But that just twists the knife even further in regard to all these features and modes cut from Battlefront 1 and 2. You know, it's just strange. DICE has delivered this tactile Star Wars experience, yet it just completely castrated all the awesome features that made the earlier games so good. I can't imagine how wild space battles would be in this engine. And the lack of a galactic conquest mode is a real bummer, considering it would be way more multiplayer friendly this time around. Some of my best memories of Battlefront 2 are when I was playing with First Zen and we were squaring off. He was the CIS and I was the Republic, and we were just locked into this huge war, constantly gaining and losing ground, and it was a lot of fun. I want to understand why they made these decisions and maybe sympathize with them, or at least see where they're coming from, but it just seems so easy to understand that these modes were part of the core Battlefront experience in the past. Of course, this is an EA title, which means that any of these features could show up again, but with a little $sign and the word DLC next to them. EA being EA, they've already started on this with the Deluxe Edition pre-order featuring access to weapons as well as unique emotes, and both the Standard and Deluxe Edition pre-orders give you early access to the first DLC, which is coming out a mere 3 weeks after the launch of the game. You know, because EA wants you to think of it as a favor, they're giving you free DLC less than a month after launch instead of just giving it to you as part of the full game. Again, I'm really impressed so far, but paying full price for something that lacks the spirit of what made the previous game so good is kind of a deal breaker. I would say I'd probably cave in and get it anyways, but it's coming out after Fallout 4, so I probably won't care. If DICE really wanted me to jump on this, they would have included the Clone Wars era, included Galactic Conquest, and included space battles. A single-player campaign is a little less important for me. Of course, there is the chance that this is only a sense of what's to come. With new Star Wars movies for the foreseeable future, the franchise is going to get a major shot of adrenaline. That's what this title is, really, a well-packaged Star Wars FPS. I can't imagine this Battlefront being the last one, and hopefully if there is a next title, the developers will take into consideration what the more serious Battlefront fans wanted, because it'd be damn awesome.